Welcome to another episode of Behind the Pixel. I'm your host, Joe. The world is simultaneously expanding and shrinking. We're able to connect with others on the other side of the planet, while at the same time having such similar experiences that we grow together and have setbacks together. This is the essence of Generation Z. I've never met my guest Jen Stelco, but she feels familiar to me. She reminds me of the women men constantly claim they want. A woman with no drama, confident, and doesn't put up with any bullshit. But those men with their fragile egos typically cower in the presence of a woman like Jen when they meet her, as they should. But there's more to her familiarity for me. There will always be strange coincidences in your life that make you think there is something bigger in charge of things, that you were meant to meet certain people. Before Jen and I talked, I had to ask her what I should call her. I have too many Jens in my life already, and they each go by something different. Two of my best friends married a Jen and a Jenny, so I have to refer to them by their identifying partner when I tell my wife a story. I also have to clarify when I'm talking about my sister, Jenny. Everyone having the same name is a common issue in my family that seems to lack originality. My dad is named Joe, my grandfather is named Joe, and yes, this is a common tradition in families. But I know this because my sister married a Joe, and his dad was named Joe, and his grandfather also named Joe. And why am I going into this? Because when I was editing this episode, I heard something that I had previously missed during our conversation when it was happening. A brief piece of info when Jen references her husband by saying, "My Joe." Across the ocean, in Dubai, is a woman named Jen, married to a Joe, and now speaking to someone who already has too many Jens and Joes in his life. It's strange how these things happen. And maybe none of this means anything. Maybe it's just that these names are common. But it solidifies that familiar feeling I had when speaking with Jen, and why we started our conversation by talking about our kids.
I hadn't even considered trying to get back into any kind of workflow until very recently, when the littlest one, he's nearly 2 now. Having a baby is hard. It's really hard. You'll get there. Just give it a little bit of time. She'll grow up a little bit and it'll get easier.
Right. Now, when you say get back into work, are you talking about actual work, or like getting into like is your art what sustains you financially yet?
No. I mean, I'm not the primary income earner in the household, but this is all of my work. I don't have any other jobs.
Okay. Got it. Do you see like a future where your art becomes the primary source of your income at all?
I mean, I do now. Like, for the first time ever, it's looking like it isn't impossible. You know, I'm watching artists around me do really, really well. And I feel like, I just keep plugging away and maybe it'll be my turn soon. I'm doing okay. Like, I'm doing better than I've ever done in when I've just been painting and doing, even before I had children, I was just doing art full time, and it was paintings and commissions and a bit of design work and event work. I used to do sort of speed painting at corporate events and stuff, and a little bit of travel and whatever. It was still not close to what I can earn now with NFTs. And now the beauty of it is I'm doing what I want to do, right? I'm not, none of my NFTs have been commissioned so far, so it's really nice.
So I think that's something that is maybe not being told enough with like all the hype around NFTs and such. It's that this is kind of like a way out of the mindset of, oh, I've got to take this job that is loosely related to my art, or I have to get a regular job to support what I really want. This is what is allowing people to possibly say like, oh, I can just do this, we can survive, and I don't have to concede anything for myself.
Yeah, totally. A few months ago, I mean, my aim, the biggest thing that I thought that I could aim for as a full-time artist used to be that I could do 50% of my workload would be creating what I wanted and working towards exhibitions and doing my own art, and then the other 50% would be, commissions and corporate work. So I didn't see this happening anytime soon.
Right. So how long have you been selling / making it then?
Like since October, less than 6 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it's really not that long.
No, but I started to do the illustrations that I have that are the hybrid heroine series. I don't know if you've looked at them, but I made most of them about 6 years ago, just as these digital prints that I did on my iPad mini. I drew them with my finger and I had an exhibition of them. And then basically I have a friend here who started collecting crypto art, and he knew that I was an artist and knew that I should try it out. And I was very much, I was like everybody when I first heard about it, like, it sounds stupid, sounds like something that geeks are into, whatever. But then I was like, look, I've got the work. I've got 25 of these high-res digital images ready to go. There's no harm in just seeing if I could get represented by a platform. And he gave me a list. He was like, try Super Rare, try Maker's Place, try Known Origin if you have to, and if not, go for Bearable.
Right. So there's like already like a hierarchy in platforms. That I don't think I think people that get into it, like, they start to realize that they're like, oh, this is where real artists are. This is where, if you can't get in, this is where you go. Like, I learned that like just 2 months ago.
Interestingly, I thought I'm not going to try for Super Rare because that sounds too unrealistic. So probably I'll go for Maker's Place. Mm-hmm. So I applied for Maker's Place, and then since I'd done that anyway, I was like, oh, I'll apply for Super Rare as well. So I'm doing this now. And I am still not accepted by Maker's Place. I never reapplied. I never heard back from that first one, but I got accepted on Super Rare. Later on, I tried for Known Origin because Super Rare don't let you do editions, which I agree with. I don't think editions are great, but I thought I'll have Known Origin just for, like, I wanted another platform for like experimental stuff that I maybe didn't want to show it like in a showcase with all of my, better art. And I wanted, and just if I do something quickly, and I thought I didn't want it to just go to waste, so I can put it up and see if, make it cheaper or make it 1 of 5 or something. But I honestly, I don't use Known Origin much.
Yeah. No, I agree with you about edition now too. Like, and I don't know if the financial aspect has changed my mind or not. But like, you see platforms like Nifty Gateway doing open editions and just like churning out 500 of something for $1,000, and it's just like, all right, you guys are just like printing posters at this point, Like, I like the idea of just.
I think the whole open edition idea is, I feel like it's a bit of a money grab. This could be coming from a little bit of FOMO because I haven't had a Nifty drop, and maybe I would love to have a money grab. I'm not going to diss them completely. I'm not going to turn it down if it comes my way. Right. But I also, I don't think I would like, I've never been tempted to buy an open edition because it just feels like, okay, if we bring this back to the physical art world for a moment, I have a Picasso lithograph, which is pretty cool, but it's a lithograph, and I bought it in a silent auction when I was really, really drunk and massively regretted it the next day, but I got it. I don't even like it very much, if I'm honest, but it's not worth a whole lot because it's one of many. because it's a lithograph, It's cool because it's by Picasso, but it's still one of 1,000 or something that are the same. So you can still just buy them at a rugby end of season ball silent auction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're right. It's, I don't know what the solution is, and I agree with you. Like, there is that fear of missing out for sure.
Yep.
That like I'm guilty of it. Like, I see an open edition, and I've got, I think, two. I've got one from Ted Chin and one from Philip Podas, because I like their style and stuff. And I can't afford the larger ones. They were $350 and $500.
Okay, well, look, that's completely different. If you're buying art because you like it and you want to look at it and you want to support the artist, absolutely kudos. That's the right thing to do. Yeah. You can't, if you're buying art that you like to look at, you can't go wrong. Maybe you'll never sell it again, but you have it and you appreciate it.
Right. But like at the same time, like there's that, and I don't know how to remove this, and maybe you know better than me, but like, because, and I told Etta Toddy, who I spoke to yesterday, this too, like my means don't match my taste in art yet, where $500 and $300 is a lot of money to me still,
Yeah, it is.
So like, I'm happy to support those artists. I am like grateful that, I buy something, I share it on social media, and then they come and like it, and they start talking about it with me. And it's like, that part of it is a lot of fun too. But I don't know how to remove that, like, oh wait, like, did I just like blow $500 and this won't appreciate, and like, because there's that investment aspect of it too, and that's where like I think Super Rare is still doing it right, because you don't have that fear of, oh well, this is not going to be worth anything, like, because it's one of one from an artist you really love.
Yeah, I mean, there's always an element of risk, like you think, but then sometimes I consider going through Rarible and Known Origin maybe, and trawling for the hidden gems that haven't been discovered yet. And I feel like with my art background, and actually I've got a friend here who's an art curator and an art journalist. She obviously knows her stuff, and she and I have sat down together and thought, should we just spend like a couple $1,000 buying loads of art that's only like going for, $100 a piece, whatever, and then hope that down the line we'll be able to flip it for a lot more. And then I don't know, it's still hard to break through that that wall where you kind of, you feel like it's a plunge you can take.
Right. Okay. So that makes me feel a little less guilty, or that it's like a common experience at least.
Because you don't know.
You're right.
You also have to. I feel like if I'm going to support an unknown artist as well, you need to do a little bit of digging into the person and find out if they are, if they have a little bit of an element of hustle, and how often they post something, and if they feel, honestly, if they're going to push themselves to a point where they're getting better and better and better, you don't want to support somebody who gets lucky for a bit and then calls it quits, right?
Right. But that, like, and this goes into something else that I talk about with, my writing group, where we write about NFTs and stuff, that addiction aspect of it. Like, when I was in high school, it was like pop punk bands and like indie artists. Like, it was almost like a nuclear escalation type thing, where like, oh, who found this band? Who found that band? Like, oh, have you heard of this? Like, oh, really? No, you haven't? Like, well, I have. And then you're like bragging to it, and then you don't, and then like they get big, and it's like, yeah, well, I knew them first before you. And that's what I'm doing.
I still do that.
Yeah, and I'm doing that with artists now too. Like, I still do it with music. But like, now, like, people just like write me off as like, oh, you're one of those people. And yeah, I am. But now I'm doing it to artists too.
Yeah.
And it's fun, though. Like, because you find out about the artists, like I dig into your stuff and it's like, oh, like you're on the other side of the planet and you're doing artwork. Like my wife teaches government at an all boys school.
Oh.
So she's like bringing in these like feminist aspects, and she is, I mean, she's not afraid to like put down any high school boy that like pushes back on like feminist issues or anything. Like she is, I mean, she scares me. So she like I showed her your piece.
She sounds like a total badass. I love her.
Every woman that I've talked to in WOCA
yeah,
would love my wife. So
that's
far.
awesome.
You guys all have a piece of her in you, and I think that's why I love talking to you guys so much.
Nice.
But like your piece with Kamala Harris and what's her face from Germany? Angela Merkel. And I forget who else is in it. Like I showed it to her, and she's like, "Wow, that's really cool." And I was like, "All right, well, you know, if I make money doing this, maybe I'll come back around and buy this because that's something that she would."
It's also
like.
got AOC.
I think so.
You
yes.
should know.
I mean, you're the one that made it.
And it's got. Yeah. Well, I know she's American. Actually, I struggled with putting 2 American politicians in there because I was trying to make it a little bit more worldly, but I was like, no, these 2 need to be included. I actually did it just after the election because Kamala was like everybody's hero at the moment. But it's also got the Finnish Prime Minister, who's like the youngest PM ever. She's like 30, 31 something. She's younger than me. And it's also got Jacinta,
that's who we were trying to figure out who it was.
Jacinta's the PM of New Zealand, and as much as we Aussies are, you know, against the Kiwis in a friendly kind of a way, she's, you know, wonderful. She's pretty good.
I mean, you're from Australia originally, right?
So Australia and New Zealand have the kind of rivalry that I suppose the US and Canada have, to make comparisons.
Is that really a rivalry? Like, as far as the rivalry goes, from my perspective, is I want to live there and want everything they have. I'm sure there's a different perspective for people that are in other parts of the country, but as far as I'm concerned, we are losing that rivalry, and all it is just envy from my perspective. Okay. The awkward interaction I had with an art buyer. Are you comfortable talking about that?
Yeah, totally. What was it? Remind me.
Okay. It was just like you said, that a buyer came to your, I guess, apartment or house at some point. Oh, yeah. And once he bought it, like, he started to make you uncomfortable. Yeah. And now, like, you don't want anyone doing that unless your husband.
Well, that...
Like, do you want to like elaborate on the story at all without?
It was a long time ago. I was really young, and I mean, we were new in Dubai, and I didn't understand Arab culture yet. And it was just because I was any money that I could make from my art at the time, I was really hungry for. And this old guy who wanted a picture painted from a photo. He had a newspaper clipping, and it was a picture of a girl in his family, like a niece or something, and she was being given an award by Sheikh Mohammed, like who's the current ruler. And he wanted that put into a picture. Anyway, he charged him like 1,000 dirhams, which is probably the equivalent of like $300, and I felt like that was pretty big money. And he came over to pick it up and just felt really weird. He kept trying to offer to massage me or something. He didn't actually place a hand on me, but I got him out of the house, and then I made a rule for myself that I wouldn't invite men over to pick up paintings unless my Joe was home. I don't think I still have that rule. I think I'm just a little bit more savvy now, and I don't think anybody would pull that shit with me anymore. But I was like 20.
Right.
I was like 23. Mm-hmm. It was really uncool.
Like, I was just hopeful that men, and someone's talking about this you have an equality chat on the Women of Crypto Art Discord. Someone brought up the point that, like, art is that expression of emotion, and that like she thought that the art community would encourage women, you know, emotional essentially. But
Yep.
that wasn't her experience, it seems. Or like, where are the other people that are saying like, yeah, women are emotional. That's why their art is better sometimes, because they're in touch with it.
Right.
So like, I wanted to like another artist like is brought up the point that there's still like misogyny in the crypto art world, and she like was a little offended by one of the titles of one of my pieces, which my wife read and thought was, oh yeah, that's okay. And she would call me out on anything misogynistic.
And was this the one about you had to change it to parent instead of
yes,
yeah.
it was that one. And like when we were talking about it, like me and my wife, we were like, we're just like in this bubble, and I guess like she's had issues with men before me, but like we're just in this bubble where we think like, oh yeah, everything's great and wonderful, and like women are finally being treated equal and stuff. But then like you go outside of our tiny bubble, and there's men still doing things that thought were kind of like the bring away. So that's why I wanted to start talking to female artists about like their experiences that I thought would have, you know, not existed in a world where emotion is kind of like the currency in a way.
Yeah. It's a weird one, isn't it? I think sadly, men are men in any in any field, and they're not all the same, but you still get dicks, right?
Yes. Exactly.
But I don't think, and I think actually, if you look at NFTs, I suppose there's a lot more men in NFT art than there are in regular art. I think I know. I've connected now with quite a few female crypto artists, but in the early days, it seemed to only be men that I was coming across. If I go to the physical art world, I can think of a lot more female artists that I know than male. But I think that's just because traditionally, I guess, it's tech. Tech is still,
it's still
kind
a boys'
of
club.
male driven. Yeah.
A lot of us are, you know, nerds that are now like being recognized for our nerdy habits that like, you know, that my wife makes fun of me for sometimes. Like when I first started doing this, she was like, I don't want to hear about this anymore. I don't understand it. I don't like, you're just a dork. Like, you think you're cool.
This is exactly my initial reaction, because this was my friend Dave who was telling me that I should do crypto art. And I was like, Dave, I don't know. It sounds really sort of techie. Is this a thing that you and your tech mates like? But anyway, he got me into it. I like it now, but I definitely had my doubts.
Yeah, right. And like you can like separate the technology aspect of it if you want as an artist. I think like
look, if I'm completely frank, I think that a lot of the ins and outs of the blockchain still escape me. I've learnt the spiel, so I know what to say when people ask me about it. I've learnt the words and the right sentences to make it sound like I get it, but I really don't. I don't completely, but I do. I'm definitely learning, and I get the art side, and I understand how to upload something, and I'm getting better at animating. I'm getting into all of that, all of the necessary stuff, and I'm just sort of trusting that I'll get there with the rest of it.
Who invited you to Women of Crypto Art? How did you get involved in that?
I can't remember. I must have just seen a post and clicked on it. My first in the early days, 6 months ago.
The early days of October, the fall.
Yeah. I would say autumn, but yes. There was an exhibition held by, her name's Alyssa. I think her Twitter handle is Lover Worldwide, LUVR, and she hosted this VR exhibition in Alt Space, and she put one of my pieces in it, and I think that got me into the group. So I did years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, I got into virtual reality painting, basically sort of by chance and by blagging it. I had a company that wanted I used to do some speed painting for them at like expos, and they turned around one year and was like, can you do anything different? We're looking for something, if you've got any ideas. And I'd heard of Tilt Brush, which is a virtual reality 3D painting program. And I was like, oh, there's this. I'm certain that I'd be really good at it. And they were like, great, do that then. And I was like, I need to buy some equipment. And they were like, here you go, buy the equipment. So I got like a gaming machine and an HTC Vive, and I figured out Tilt Brush, and it was really good fun. And then I never used it again, but I had the VR equipment. So I went into...
Were you just bullshitting yourself through it? Like, yeah, I can do this. I'd be great at it.
To be fair, I studied sculpture, I studied drawing, and I can figure out a computer if I have to. So I figured, how hard can it be? And I had I had one child at the time, which is hard, but it's not as hard as 3. So I must have felt like I had the time to learn it.
Do you ever see yourself going back to it? Because I think the only female artist that I know that's doing it, I can't remember her name, but...
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Right. She's got like a long blonde ponytail. Yes.
Everyone knows who I'm talking about when I just like mention it, and it's incredible work. Like, do you ever think about like going back to it?
I do, and I could try, but I don't think I'd be able to pull it off like that. So what she's actually got is she because when you see her work, you actually see a visualization of her doing it. So to make that happen, which is what happened when I did it at this event, it was like a performance. So they got a whole extra tech company in to make it work. I didn't know how to do that, but they had like a green screen and 2 HTC Vives so that they could show from different angles and stuff. It's more equipment than I have, and it's I think I'm not going to execute it as well as she does, and I'd rather just carry on with my own thing. But I really do like it for playing with. And there is definitely a possibility of like being able to go in there and make 3D, like make a 3D rendering or sculpt or something that I could then transfer into a different program and like collage with or something. But the way that she does her like performance tilt brush, I'm just going to leave her to that, because I'm not going to compare.
You're I don't know if it's humility, self-deprecating, or just like a good sense of self, but like you're just so like you're so normal and just like familiar to me. Just, like, I do the same things all the time. Like oh, I'm not gonna touch that. There's someone better than me. I'm not gonna.
No, look.
Like I know.
I had that advice years ago. I was studying in Germany and I had an idea. I thought it was a brilliant idea, and I was doing these like little watercolor drawings, and they were like mashups of animals. Oh, and I thought they were just next level. But then my the lecturer or my teacher, what do you call them? I don't know, tutorial giver. She showed me another artist that did the same kind of idea, but in very realistic 3D sculptures. And she was like, if you can't do it better than that, then don't do it, do something else. Like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, that is exactly why I gave up on my artistic pensions, I guess, for lack of a better word. I went to a small school where like everyone said like, oh wow, you're really good at this stuff. Like, oh, okay. And then I got to a big high school and I was like, no, I'm not good. It's just like I'd rather like talk about like artists like you and people that like have like that talent and that gift that I don't have, like, because I recognize it. That's maybe my gift and how I world. I can talk to you guys, be like, no, your stuff is amazing.
Well, I believe your gift is your writing. I've read a couple of your articles. You should just run with that.
I'm trying to just say thank you.
Yeah, do that. Cheers.
And not
Or, even better than that,
or what?
instead of just saying thank you, you should just say, yes, I agree.
I have a colleague that who gave me a tongue lashing because like can't get rid of my self-deprecation, and like this was always like, and I guess like this is the parallel between like me and artists and stuff. Like I gave up on the idea that I could make money and a living on writing because, you know, nobody was paying writers, and then like newspapers started failing, and it was like, all right, like there's really no. So I'm an English teacher now, and I was going to school to be a therapist too, and so like I was like, all right, this is all it is like emotions and like analyzing that stuff that I get. So like I see like artists and graphic designers that gave up on that, or like took jobs that are just like loosely related to what they wanted. And my colleague said like I can't get rid of that self-deprecating portion of it. So like when I see a good writer, I'm like, I'm like, I'll never be as good as you. She's like, you know, you got to stop. Like you're making me uncomfortable. People believe in you and your writing.
I
like,
think
just go with it.
Yeah, and also I think that you need to get to a point where you can appreciate good work and not in a kind of jealous or longing kind of a way.
Yeah, and it's not like jealousy. Like I don't feel jealous. Like, and I am just like, wow. Like I don't know how to remove the self-deprecating part from my compliment. Is that something you had to like do, or like have you always just been like, yeah, my painting's great?
I just say thank you and move on. The more you dwell on it, the worse it gets.
You are. Well, this is jealousy. Like I envy your, like I envy your sense of self. Just like I just say thank you, and I'm like over it. Like, I guess like kids will like beat that like dwelling out of you in a way. Like you can't like focus on anything for too long.
I think kids are actually an inspiration in the way that they handle compliments. My middle one, his name's Vinny. This is why I told you should just agree with what they say. Because if you say to Vinny, wow, Vinny, you're really strong, he goes, yeah, I'm really strong. Like, he doesn't argue with you. He's not like, me, really? You think I'm strong? He doesn't even just thank you for the compliment. He'll just say, yeah, I am. It's great.
You're right. You're right. We should be encouraging that. Like we like, and I guess like that is part of like, and you would know better than I, like that there's that still like machismo and male ego that like I have like worked my whole life just like beat down. I never wanted to be one of the guys like walking into that like, yeah, like I'm awesome. Like why wouldn't you? Like, and I guess like that's kind of like kind of like that guy.
Yeah. Whereas I'm getting taught
exactly.
the opposite. We're all being told to be that person, to walk in with the confidence.
Yeah. Right. Like, and that's kind of like that experience you had with that buyer. It's like he's walking into your apartment. Well, I'm buying her work, and I'm me. Like, why wouldn't she want me? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess as a freelance artist, there's been times where I very much just have to blag my way into a job, and you learn an element of confidence that maybe isn't really there. But it's about, you know, pretending until it's real, right? I did a job once where I had to go to Doha, Qatar, on like a 2 hours notice. It was a speed painting job, and the painter was coming over from France, but he couldn't get in. Something wrong with his visa. So this guy called and was like, I need you to be here. Can you get on the next flight? And I could tell he was just freaking out. I think he was worried he was going to lose his job. And it was very high pressure. I had to paint 2 portraits on one big canvas in like less than 10 minutes. And the people who I was painting were going to be in the room. Kind of scary. And portraits are so hit and miss, right? Like if you get it wrong.
Yeah, like.
So I just spent I was just like, yeah, I can do it. I got this. And I just spent the whole flight sketching these faces over and over again in my little notebook. And then the guy picked me up from the airport and he was like shaking with fear almost. And I was like, it's okay, I'm here. And I'm very confident. Pretty sure that's exactly what I said.
That's how I'm going to start walking into the room. Don't worry, I'm here and I'm very confident. That's going to be my catchphrase from now on. Yeah. My wife's going to come home. Don't worry, I'm still here and I'm very confident. Right.
It could work in any situation, actually.
I'm going to start saying it to my daughter. Like, when she starts crying, don't worry, I'm here. I'm very confident. Yeah.
I'm very confident.
I love it. Right.
It's
great.
A mantra.
What are you working on now? Like, what do you, like?
So I'm still sort of getting through my original hybrid heroine illustrations. I keep looking behind the computer because they're all there. I'm just...
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's my...
So,
Oops.
like, do you
shut you down.
paint them digitally and then have them printed, or do you just, like, paint on canvas still and then, like, kind of scan it? You go ahead.
No. I did all of these on my iPad. Years ago on my iPad mini with my finger. And now I have a much bigger iPad and an Apple Pencil, which is obviously much easier. So I'm just there was 25 of them originally, and I'm working through them slowly, animating them, giving them a little bit more of a life. Some of them I'm updating as well, like if any of the characters in them are still alive and stuff's happened to them in the past 5 years, then I tried to add that in. Yeah. It's been really fun, actually. It's like, because when I first did the exhibition, I feel like it didn't, I put so much work into it, and I don't feel like it got the press or the coverage or the interest that it deserved. So it's really nice to give it another life and to see it being appreciated. Because I kind of, after it was exhibited, I kind of just stashed them all away, and I was, I didn't want to look at them for a while, but now I'm getting back into them, and I'm making a few new ones. Spice Politicians obviously fits the collection, but it's new. I didn't do that 5 years ago. And there's a few that I'd like to do that I've kind of got in the back of my mind, but I'm still just getting through the ones I've got. But I'm like moving away from them once in a while. It's not all I'm doing. I'm doing like the odd standalone piece. I'm doing a lot of collaborating. I love the collaborations. And the whole collaboration scene in NFT art. I've never collaborated before, never in any sense. I never collaborated, and now I'm doing. I think I've got 4 collaborations on the go right now, with people that are all in different parts of the world, completely different walks of life, and I'm getting a little bit of help from DJs for some sound and stuff as well.
That's like the next aspect of it, like incorporating other mediums into like your work. Like you can't do that with physical art. Like, this is
no. And my first bunch, like maybe my first 5 or 6, I hadn't even considered putting sound in because it had never crossed my mind. You can't. They were, to me, they were still just drawings. And if you look at the first few that I minted, they were just a drawing with like little movements, like a finger would tap and the eyes would blink and move. And now I'm like, I spent some time recently, a couple of weeks ago, I found this 11.5-hour YouTube tutorial on After Effects. And it was like from the basics all the way through to every nook and cranny. And I worked my way through that slowly over the week with like a notebook and practicing on my computer. And so I think I'm more into the animating now. So it's like, rather than the animating being an afterthought now, like something just to give that little bit of extra thing, now I'm like, it's become half about the original illustration. And then I'd say like a full other 50% is the animating and the adding music. It's nice. It's all these extra elements. Like the one that I've just minted, I don't know if you saw it. It's Joan Jett of Arc. And when I was thinking about, I just minted it today. Have a little look. So it's Joan Jett and Joan of Arc hybrid. And when I was thinking about what sound to do, which wasn't an option when I first created it, right? I was like, well, it needs to have some guitar. So it's got this electric guitar track, and it needs to have like a choir, like a church choir, and it needs to have like battle noises. So I've got some swords and some like battle cries, and the three elements work really nicely together as a mashup. As all of the artworks are mashups, right? So the sounds become a mashup as well, and it's just another element on top.
Right. Yeah, it's so cool. I was bragging to Etta the other day when we talked a little bit. I think I stumbled onto something really cool. It was a guy minting his claymation video. Like it's and that is kind of like right. And he's got a huge following on YouTube because it is not grotesque, but it's a little violent, but it is amazing what he does. And it's just like, that's the stuff that I like grew up watching, because like I was a 90s kid, and like all
Me too.
yeah, so like we grew up with like claymation, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the California Raisin stuff. Like that stuff was,
and Pingu.
I forgot about that. Like all that stuff, and it's like it just like withered away and died. And that's kind of like my biggest complaint with like movies and like shows and stuff. It's all CGI and none of it's real anymore. Like I love the puppet.
You feel like the artistry is gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like like Muppets and stuff. Like all the puppetry and stuff. Like it's just, my daughter's growing up watching it now because that's what I grew up watching. And now this claymation stuff's coming back in, and it's just like, God, I hope there's a revival and like a desire for that stuff again. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, just think about all the artists out there who have perfect art that would do so well as NFTs, but they just haven't found the space yet. Like there must be, like claymation. What a great shout! People love claymation, and and you can see the work involved. There's so much, and you feel like you're happy to pay for that when there's a lot of like physical work, like technical. Nobody else can do it. Little details, you know.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought about like and this is part of it, like I think we've been for like 30 years, like digital art like hasn't been considered real art because like nobody like really knows how hard it is or how long it takes. Like we just like see an image on our computer screen and it's like, oh yeah, I could do that. Anyone could do that. Whatever. But there's a small artist that the company I work with, we're partnering with artists who like drops and stuff like and help promote them. His art like is very abstract, and also like you look at it and you're just like, is this good or is this just like a teenage kid just like scribbling and stuff? And then he posted the video, and it's his entire thought process. It is him painting, it's him doing this doodle over here, it's him scribbling things out, it's him like making a mistake and then saying like, oh, I'll just keep that in there and work from it. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's a genius. This isn't like, and it's that like showing of like how hard it is and work that goes into it, like claymation, that like is like, oh my God, like I'm happy to pay for this. This guy like just poured himself into his work. Like, have you thought about doing that with yours?
Well, I don't think I need to, just because my work there's a lot of detail in it, and it's not something that looks like it's thrown together. But I know what you're trying to say, and it's why people get upset about artists like Hack, who will show like a ball, like a floating orb selling for a mint, And everybody's like, how long did that take? You know? But, I mean, there's been artists all the way through history. Well, not all the way through history. Modern art has always been questionable. And it's in the eye of the beholder. It's all subjective, and we're putting the value on it ourselves. Like, if you think about it, what you're really paying for when you buy art, like, you're not buying the cost of a canvas and the cost of the paint and the cost of the time. Buying the realization of someone's imagination and what they've come up with, and then the skill involved with putting it together. Sometimes the skill isn't great, but the imagination and the, making it happen is what's impressive. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Do you
know who Jeff Koons is? He's literally the most expensive artist in the world. He's the big balloon dog. You know the big balloon dog?
Yes. Okay.
Right. And he did the most expensive piece of art is the little balloon rabbit.
Yes, I have seen those.
It makes people furious because he didn't even make it. He gets them made in a factory. He doesn't use his own hands to make his art. But I actually saw him giving a lecture at the Abu Dhabi Art Fair a few years ago, and somebody put this question to him, and I was lucky enough to be there to witness it. And they said, how do you feel about it when people say that you didn't make it? You didn't make your own art? And his response was, the people that are making the art, he sees as extensions of his own hands. Like, if you're making art with your hands, your brain is telling your hands something. He's just using other people to imagine. So it's all about the concept.
Right. When I was like, I went on like a Twitter rant, like kind of like introduce like what I wanted to talk about on the podcast, that they were just like, all right, here are the keys, make it what you want. What I want to talk about is like stuff like that. Because like I was talking to an artist who I'm becoming like friends with, which is another awesome, like, I think that might be my favorite part about all this. Like, I get to talk to you guys and like build a relationship, and like the things we discuss is just like awesome. But like we were talking about like how there's so much focus on the money aspect of all of this, and that's what's getting a lot of attention. Like this digital art, like people sold for $69 million. That's the story that everyone's telling.
Yeah, those stories are good. They're good for us. They're making it talked about.
Yes,
So I've been trying to get on local radio since October to talk about NFTs. And I was like, how hard can it be? I've got, my husband goes to the gym with a radio presenter. And then like I've got a mate from Amdram years ago who does heaps of stuff on the radio. I'll just get on the radio. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody wanted to talk about it. People made that big sale through Christie's, and I had a call the next day to go on the radio, and it was I was like, oh, they remember me because I was reaching out, but they had no idea who I was. They were like, they just asked somebody. They actually asked a friend. Luckily, I've got a friend who was sort of in there. She was like, you're talking about that. I know someone who's an NFT artist in Dubai, and they're like, oh, can you get us her number? Now people want to talk about it. But that's good.
Yeah, it's like it's like a balancing act, like finding the right, like, all right, yeah, like the money brings attention. That's a good thing. However, the conversation has to go beyond just that, because it's not just about like how much this person makes. Like the money, and this is what I said, like the money like is important because it validates you as an artist. Like, yes, someone is willing to like part with this thing that has value. It's like, here, this is something valuable to me. I want something valuable from you, because you guys are like putting yourselves into this work, like imagination. It's just like, that's what you're actually buying. You're buying a piece of another person and saying, yes, this is valuable and important to us as human beings.
I mean, the people are attracted to numbers, right? So they see a big number, like, and it makes headlines. And it makes, I think, any big sales like that. But do you remember, like, not long ago, when Beeple did that election drop, and it was like he sold it for $60,000, and it was big news. Everyone was like, shit. And that was it was not long ago, a few months ago. If you think about all that's happened in the last few months, just think where we're going to be a year from now. It's kind of wild. I have on good faith that I think all of us that are in the space early are going to be doing very well in a year. I think.
I hope you're right. I struggle going back and forth between like, all right, this can't last. I got to get out. Like, and like it's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of just like yes, 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 yes. Give me everything. But then I like come up for air from like the rabbit hole, and I like tell my dad what I'm writing about and stuff. He's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, like nothing. So like I I don't know. I have no idea, but like I am like I want to keep like buying stuff, but like the conversations like this could be over tomorrow in my eyes, like, and that's like always like in the back of my head because nothing that I like I said at the beginning of this, I am Murphy's Law, and everything that can go wrong will go wrong for me. But
Well, Joe, it's okay. I'm here, and I'm very confident.
But like so like it could all go wrong, and like the things I've bought could be valueless tomorrow. But like what? And Sparrow said this is what we talked about for a while yesterday, was that it's like the communities and the conversation. Like I don't know that I care about like the money aspect anymore, or like what I can make reselling like my NFTs for the artists, like, and I'm happy that it still supports them when I do that. But like I almost like want to just be like, what, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in like talking, like this is the best part of it. This is like the coolest part of it, that like like you said, like 3 months ago it was like big then, but now people are like finally like, oh yeah, let's talk about it. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that as well. Like I was saying earlier, the collaborating has become a really big deal for me. So I've connected with a few artists and a few collectors as well that I talk to quite a lot just on Twitter, typing. And a part of me is like, I don't know. There's a bit of a stigma that comes with relationships that you form over the internet in any sense. And I'm like, is it weird that I think that guy in Indonesia is my friend now, and that I feel defensive of him, and I want him to do well? I've never met that guy, but I do feel like he's my friend,
Right. Like, I told Etta the same thing. Like, I don't care, like, if you don't think we're friends, I'm telling people we're friends. I'm telling people that, yeah, I gotta go talk to Jen. She's my new friend. Like, that, like, you're right. It's kind of like online dating, but for friendship.
Right.
Instead.
Like-minded. Yeah. I've got, I'm actually meeting someone tomorrow in real life. Who's
really?
Yeah. So one of my collectors told me that he knows of a guy who's in the NFT space and works with blockchain technology, who lives in Dubai. So he connected me to him on Twitter. And it's so exciting for me because there's nobody else here. Like I'm hearing crickets. I've got my friend Dave, me, and my art curator friend who I've gotten involved, and that's it. Nobody else here is. I mean, I talk about it, and people want to hear about how I'm doing now. So I've got the people around me kind of involved to an extent, but there's the first person outside of my circle that I know that's interested at all. So I'm going to go and meet with him and have a coffee and see if it's for no other reason than that we both are interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when we can start traveling again, and like when my daughter's old enough, like I'm gonna I've got friends all over the globe now. Like, I'm coming to see you guys and get a drink with you in 2 years so we can talk about how weird it's been, this whole thing. Like, that's what I want to do now. Like, I have an excuse to go to Dubai and hang out with you and sleep on your couch because whether you invited me or not, that's how I feel this is going to go. Like, we're just going to camp in your living room.
I feel like in like 5 years, there'll be like a conference that everybody goes to. And we'll be like, oh, I know your Twitter handle.
Yes.
Are you whoever? Are you this person? It'll be so exciting to see the faces.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, you're right. Maybe that'll be it. I'd like to thank my guest, Jen Stelco, for taking the time to talk to me. I'd also like to thank the Baltimore DJ Aiden for allowing me to use his music for this episode. And if you enjoyed what you heard, like, subscribe, and share it. Thanks for listening.